it's got some animation. Okay, so, Knotweed is city infrastructure. It does not mix. These are some headlines from around the world.
You can tell me, you'll say next.
Okay, go ahead, next. Homeowner says she is unable to sell her home as Japanese knotweed has taken over her neighbor's garden. This is from the UK. Go ahead, next one. The Ireland Farmers Journal. Sorry. The transport minister spent 290 million euro on roads and tap Japanese knotweed. Next. Talbot Tower is a historical tower that they treated the knotweed, thought it was gone, and when they went to go start making renovations, they found it again, so they've closed it. That's in Ireland. And then knotweed, the nasty plant that has the power to raise your taxes. So this is important because a lot of people, especially in the city workers and government and stuff, they're really concerned about city stuff and not so much nature stuff. So it's hard to approach city governments saying there's this plant that takes over the wild spaces. They're like, cool story, I gotta go take care of some sewer lines or something. So, and even homeowners too. People hear about, I know there's a lot of invasive species and I know they're all special. This one hits people in the pocketbooks and it's something that they'll pay attention to when it involves money and themselves. So I think on the next one, so this is the things it breaks through. I threw this together in the past few days really quick, so I'm sorry if it's weird. So yeah, it breaks through all these things and causes damage to roads and buildings. Go ahead, next. It's a true pain in the ass. You can go to the next one. So these are pictures. This is a picture I took in Kalamazoo last year of a parking lot. The next one, please. It's a used car lot, and this is the Japanese knotweed pushing the asphalt up. They had just cut it, so it was fortunate for me that I got there. Again, this is just after I discovered what it was. So I saw some and found out the entire parking lot had issues. So go ahead to the next one. This is somewhere in the world. You can see it's acting like a wedge between the cracks. It goes in, and as it grows, it pushes and puts pressure, increases the cracks, and it keeps going. This is what it does on volcanoes. It's native to Japan and Asia. It's used to being covered with volcanic lava and then hardening, and then it'll wait until it can find a weak spot, and then it starts pushing up, and when it can crack it, pushes through, creates, again, like a wedge, keeps wedging its way through, putting more and more stalks through, and that's how it survives. So it can survive multiple years underground, and asphalt and concrete is no match. It's a poor man's substitute for volcanic lava that is hardened. So go ahead to the next one. Here's another way it wedges itself between a wall. Again, pushing sprouts through each little one, moves it a little further. This wall is now unstable. If this is like a house, this house is probably on its way to be condemned, because if that brick wall falls on someone, that's a problem. Go to the next one. It goes through the brick as well. I have seen pictures of it like on a third story coming out of like a window or a gutter. Go to the next one, please. This, I believe, is a basement in Jackson, Michigan. It growing in the dark. Yeah, I just found that picture. I was told about it by some of our Sydney guys. So next one, please. This is in England, where it's growing to the floor. It also grows out through the outlets. There's been some pictures online where it comes through the outlets. It can grow in like the space of the wall. So I have so many anecdotal stories. We could talk forever. There's a lady in Ohio who it grew up through the wall and came out on the third story of her house out the window. So it can survive in the dark. It can survive under thick. They're saying it can go through 6 inches of concrete. Breaks through that, so it can survive. Next one, please. This is the cover of a magazine from England where the plant that ate Britain. Unfortunately, go ahead and push it again. This is where we're headed. It is here, and it is doing damage. Thankfully, it's not as bad as it is in the UK right now. They've had to adapt, like, after it's exploded, they're like, oh, this is a problem, we need to do something. We have the benefit of being able to see what's happening over there, and we can do something to keep it from getting that bad. We do have, there's that little bit of hope there, is we can get ahead of it and keep it from spreading. And my hope is that Michigan, when we look back in time, they can say Michigan was a state that prepared for it before it was a problem, and therefore is one of the only states that wouldn't be covered by it. So that's my hope. A lot of how I'm trying to handle it, this is my first time doing anything like this. This is all in addition to my tell people to mow their lawns. And so I've been using World War Z, the book, not the movie. The movie was not a good representation of the book, but in the book and the movie they talk about how Israel knew it was coming and built walls, and so they were like the only zombie fortress because they knew it was coming and they built walls. So hopefully Michigan can be something like that to where we're ready and prepared when everyone else is freaking out. So, next one, please. So the thing is, nobody knows about it. I called the top 11 most populous cities in Michigan, asked for their public works department, which confused some of them. Of course, they thought I was crazy at first. And Ann Arbor, when they called back, they said, oh, you have the wrong department. You need to be in the environmental plants. And I'm like, no, I'm actually talking about you because it affects roads and sewers and all this stuff. So out of all of them, none of them have heard about them except Flint. And I did have a conversation with Flint's Director of Public Works. She heard about it. Go ahead, next one, please. She heard about it through the Genesee Conservation District. So this is a shameless plug for my Facebook page, Fighting the Bamboo in Kalamazoo. I post articles, information, events, and stuff, so definitely write that down. Please like the page and subscribe to it so you can get these updates as I get them. So good job, Genesee Conservation District. The city knew about it because they were working on a bike trail with the Genesee Conservation District to eradicate some Japanese knotweed. So that partnership, go to the next one, please? Or go to the next one, never mind, back up to you at the end. I wanted to plug the role that the conservation districts and the nature orgs and the SISMAs can have with the cities is if they can get to the city and tell them how big of a problem this is and work with them, it also opens the door to work for other invasive species too. The BCK SISMA, so that's Barry, Calhoun, and Kalamazoo County SISMA, is using Japanese knotweed as a vehicle as a model. Because eventually someone's like, how did this even get here? And you can say, well, let me tell you, invasive species get in here by this, this, and this, and it becomes a model that you can say, all of the invasive species that we're dealing with have gotten in this way, so don't buy things that you don't know where it's from. Don't just plant things anywhere, that sort of thing. Go ahead to the next one, please. So this plant is going to change everything. And it's going to be uncomfortable. Change is not good, or is not easy, especially in government. It tends to cost, depending on what you're changing, it can cost a lot of money. But it is something that is going to have to change. Specifically, on the public side of things, realtors. I haven't made a lot of contact with realtors just yet because I want to make sure the public is informed. And that's kind of what this slide is about. As a city, you're going to have to make sure the public's informed as you're making changes to prevent its spread on your side. Because if you have the public hearing about it and you're not doing anything, you're going to get in trouble. If you're doing stuff but not telling the public, someone's going to find out and be upset, like, why didn't we know? So you're going to have to do a balanced approach and be honest. Let people know, we just found out about this and we're doing our best to take care of it on our end. So if you need, as far as we know, this is what we have, do research, find out on your end. But I'm mostly going to be focusing on the internal stuff. I'm not going to take a lot of time because I know time is short. But these areas are things in the city that do need to have Japanese knotweed in mind. So we can do the next one. So this is a knotweed story from London, UK that we've already heard about it. For the Olympic Games, they had to remove knotweed. There was an extensive process, like she said, digging it down to like 15 feet. They wrapped it in like impenetrable membrane, and they buried it, and then brought in clean filters, and they had to make sure there was no sharp things in it so that it wouldn't puncture the knotweed. It was extensive, and it had this huge price tag. And again, That's the thing that's going to make governments shy away from it, is how expensive it is to prevent it from getting worse. You can go to the next one, I think. The thing is, and this is from the UK, this is actually a company, but I love it because it uses the knot in Knotweed. You can't just ignore it. It's best to leave, if you know where it is, like she said, it doesn't grow very fast if it's left alone. Once you start messing with it, it takes off. So know where it is. Don't ignore it though. I think the next one deals with it too. Yeah, this gentleman in Ireland, I believe he's suing the government because they knew about it for years and did nothing. And now it's taken over and it's causing way more problems than it was when they originally found out about it. So he's making it a mission to be like, you should have done something when you first heard about it, and now it's a problem. So go ahead, next one. These are two common proverbs that totally apply to this. A stitch in time saves 9, and an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. A lot of people my age don't really get the reference to the stitch in time. If you have a rip in your clothes and you sew it when it's tiny, it's going to save it from when it's a huge rip and your pant leg is falling off. So a stitch in time saves 9, and an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. So yeah, it's going to take work and it's going to take effort and money, but the amount of money you spend now to put these changes in is going to be different and smaller than what it's going to be when this stuff is breaking through your houses and condemning buildings, and it's awful. Good. So spread the word, no you can. All right, next one, please. So here's some advice that I give. Again, this is not the city of Kalamazoo saying do these things. This is things that I've read about and recommend to cities and municipalities. Definitely put it on the noxious weed list so that at least the name is there. And you can also use this as an opportunity to inform the public about it a little. Say, hey, we've added this new plant to our list. This is why. It's really bad. So here's how to save yourself. But don't expect it to be enforceable. This article I have here, City of Midland recently added a couple new plants, including Japanese knotweed, to its list. It hadn't been updated since 1982, but unfortunately the article is a little unclear, and it made it sound like the city was going to be fining people for having Japanese knotweed. And I'm in the enforcement side too, which is we fine you and say take care of it. And you can't do that with Japanese knotweed. Even in England, they understand this. The most they can slap you with is if a neighbor complains that the Japanese knotweed in your yard is getting into their yard, you can be fined with an antisocial behavior. But which even covers things like if you punch someone in the middle of the street, that's an antisocial behavior. So even in the UK, they're not really able to enforce anything because it's so hard to kill. They're almost at the point of waving the surrender flag as well because it's just so much. I have a little note. I saw an article this last month that said the UK national budget is considering approving £5 billion a year to take care of that, to put money towards fighting the knotweed. So that's a lot of money that they're putting into the budget, and it's not really working because it's really late. So go ahead to the next one. The answer isn't to punish the landowner. It doesn't understand property lines. So as a city, you are probably going to have people who are frustrated, like the lady who I got to talk to, who's like, it's been years, and it's this one neighbor, and it's getting in everyone's yard. The thing is, you have to understand, they might not have known what they were buying when they bought the house, and now they can't do anything really to control it. The people that do have it in their property, they're trying everything, and the neighbors are upset because they're not really talking to each other, but it's one of those things, like you have to understand, doesn't understand property lines. So it went under the alley too and was growing in the neighbor's yard. So this is an awesome presentation that is on the Stewardship Network. It's called Japanese Knotweed Control Takes a Community. It's really great. You can watch it online. It's about an hour. So next one, please. You've already heard a little bit about how it spreads, so we won't take too much time in this. But knowing how it spreads knows where you can stop it from spreading. Because again, my number one message here is prevention. So next one, please. We already said mowing. Mowing is technically illegal. So as a city, if you have mowing, or municipality, if you have mowing contracts, put it in the word that if we send you to a place that has Japanese knotweed on it, either don't cut it, or if you have to cut cut it for access, make sure that the equipment is sterilized, and all of the clippings must be disposed of properly. And I was very happy to see that they've provided signs here. So you can grab one of these. I think the ones with stakes are $5 and the signs themselves are just $3. But something like this, especially on like city or municipal property, not only says watch out, it also informs them a little bit. So again, you're spreading the word, not the weed. Next one, please. This one has a quick clip. So that's gremlins. So if you're my age, you know how that works. Don't feed them after midnight and don't get them wet. Otherwise, the population explodes and they wreak havoc. I give you Japanese knotweed. It's the same thing. So little pieces. If the pieces fall on the ground and it's the right part or whatever, it's going to sprout and cause another plant, and it's going to be problematic. So don't cut it unless it's blocking access. Go to the next one, please. An option is, if you do have to cut it, dry it out safely so that none of the pieces fall on the ground. Again, dry it till it is absolutely dry. The root itself, I've heard, can even be rehydrated and start growing again. So you can burn it if you have the ability, like if you're out in the country and have it burning. Burn it, make sure none of the pieces are left over. If you can't burn it, double bag it and send it to the landfill. I really think cities need to be done designating a place where they can send it, where they understand what's going on. I called waste management to be like, hey, have you heard of Japanese knotweed? And they're like, no. So, yeah, designate a safe place. Go to the next one, please. You can one more time because this flashes. So yeah, don't accept it as compost. Next one, please. Harrisville, Michigan. Someone in the area most likely sent some material to the compost pile. And then the city handed out the compost. Now the whole city compost is a forest, and much of the city has it as well. So I do have some people who have said, like, composting is fine, I've done it for years, but I really can't recommend it because we don't completely know. There's no way to be, like, absolutely sure. Don't take the root material or whatever. So I just recommend, just don't even mess with it. Don't compost it. Just put it in bags, send it to the landfill, or if it is city designated. I think they do. So it's an herbaceous perennial, so anything topside will dry out and die off and fall off, and that actually causes problems with litter, leaf litter and actual litter, but because it piles up and it becomes a fire hazard in some places.
I was thinking about the compost pile that she was talking about, right next to it, to try and keep some of the leaves are going to fall down.
Oh, like a mulch? Yeah. I don't know that the leaves resprout. Do you have any? No, okay. But
What about the flower beds? Do they sprout seedlings or anything? They're sterile in this country.
okay, so seeds are sterile here. I don't know if you might mention the hybrids. Some of the hybrids can produce sterile seeds, so that's why you want to get rid of giant knotweed before you, if you can. If you have huge stand of Japanese and a small stand of giant, you want to get the giant out so that they don't crossbreed. We found in Kalamazoo that we have a lot of hybrid, so and a lot of WMU's campus, so that's awesome. So yeah, I can't recommend composting. Please don't compost in cities. You need to like watch and make sure they're not getting it in the compost or the green waste. Again, all this information, if it goes out, it helps stop the spread. All right, next one, please. All right, you can get it. Yeah. Okay. So as a municipal, I brought. Fortunately, when I found out about it last year, I was able to talk to the people in charge of those different departments, like streets and sewers, and tell them this is a problem. So the streets person is no longer with us, but I'm so glad. Before she left, she put this page into a packet for a project that is going to be putting sidewalk right on top of Japanese knotweed. It was already in the works, so it was a 10-year project. They can't just stop it, shut it down immediately. So what she did was she put a page in there describing how the soil, where the Japanese knotweed is, how to dispose of it. That it needs to be kept separate from the fill that's going to go back in, and it needs to be taken to a type 2 hazmat facility. And there's rules. I called waste management. And there's rules. There's a form you fill out online, and you have to package it up, and sign in, sign out sort of thing. It's a lot of work, but again, if they dig out where the Japanese knotweed is, take that somewhere else, it's going to grow there. I met a guy who had some fill brought in, and Japanese knotweed was in it, and he'd never had it before, and it came with it. So we gotta stop it where we can as a city. It's kind of our responsibility. Go to the next one, thing? Okay. Yeah. So in British Columbia, they dug out an infestation to about 9 feet, and the next year it came back twice as big. So you have to be prepared for that too. So like for this sidewalk project, I've let them all know, just be prepared. In a couple of years, it's probably going to break through the sidewalk. So go to the next one, please. So liability. This one, I just feel like it would be a good idea. I told our city people, because we have brownfields, which are sites that used to have factories and stuff on them that have Japanese knotweed, and we're in the process of trying to get development in, harmlessly, trying to get development to buy these old places, but if it has Japanese knotweed and they build a new nice place on it, and then like 20 years later, Japanese knotweed's breaking through the floor, I'm afraid that they're going to be like, you sold us property that you knew had it. And so I'm encouraging our people to sign a thing that says, we didn't know that it existed until such and such a point, so that in the future, if someone says, you knew about it, like, not until such and such, and you bought it, 2 years before that. So, there's that. Next one, please. And surveying. Before you start making those 10-year projects with the sidewalks, have an expert go out and really comb over the area looking. Is there Japanese knotweed? This chart is from the UK as well. They do this for like private property. The top red one is there is Japanese knotweed causing destruction on a house. The second red one is there's Japanese knotweed near the house, but not really causing structural damage yet. Yellows are it's not within the boundaries of this property, but it is on a neighbor's property, and it goes down from there all the way to it's not here or around it. It's good. So, as a city or a municipal doing something like that would probably help you keep track of where the knotweed is, and mapping is one of the huge things to help you conquer it. And add it to inspection forms that, when you're going for site surveying, does it have Japanese knotweed? Same thing with realtors. They're going to have to start, if any of you are realtors, I would start doing this. Look for Japanese knotweed if it's there. Decide if you should let the person know or like hint that they should do some research. But that is causing problems in the UK now, like that article said, where she can't sell her property because her neighbor has Japanese knotweed on it, and they've already bought a house, so they're kind of in limbo, and no one's able to buy hers. So, okay, next one, please. So, I guess that's the end. So, again, I know it's a lot to take in, but prevention is the biggest thing, and if we can take measures to prevent it, we're going to save ourselves so much money and time and effort later. So, I think that's the end of this. That is the end. So thank you very much, and I'll be around if anyone wants to talk.